Our top focus at this hour, the recently published fact sheet on the India-US trade deal that sheds light on the key sectors in focus. White House labels the deal as historic. As part of the agreement, the United States will lower its reciprocal tariff on India to 18%. In addition, President Trump signed an executive order removing an extra 25% tariff that had been imposed on Indian imports. Now, the move follows India's commitment to halt purchases of Russian oil, according to the White House. Well, the agreement opens up India's market for American products, marking a significant shift in trade relations between the two countries. Under this framework, India will eliminate or reduce tariffs on a wide range of US industrial goods and agricultural products. These include dried distillers, grains, DDGs, red sorghum, tree nuts, fresh and processed fruits, pulses, soybean oil, wine and spirits. India has also committed to purchasing over $500 billion worth of US energy, information and communication technology, agricultural goods, coal and other products. Now, beyond tariffs, India will address non-tariff barriers that have historically restricted US exports. The country will remove its digital services tax and negotiate new bilateral digital trade rules, and this includes commitments to prohibit customs duties on electronic transmissions. Both sides will also negotiate rules of origin to ensure trade benefits primarily accrue to the United States and India. The agreement is part of a broader effort to finalize a comprehensive bilateral trade agreement. Negotiations will continue in areas including services, investment, intellectual property, labor, environment, government procurement and trade remedies. Both nations have committed to strengthening supply chain resilience, coordinating on investment reviews, export controls and technology cooperation. The interim agreement now sets the stage for deeper economic integration between the world's two largest democracies. Now, there is lots that needs to be disseminated and understood from the fine lines in this interim agreement, in this framework. Joining me from the newsroom is our Assistant Director for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, who will help us better understand the questions that are coming around. Siddhant, let me first come to the key aspect, Russian oil. There are a lot of concerns about India's import of Russian oil. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri says the import of oil decided by adequate availability, fair pricing and reliability of supply. He also says national interests will guide Indian oil imports. And there are also statements coming from the Commerce Minister, Piyush Goyal, saying that this is not in his purview, and he referred anybody asking similar questions to the Ministry of External Affairs, saying that America needs to give us the best deal, but there's not been a clear answer from his side. I'll toss it over to you now. Is there confusion regarding what India is going to be doing, or what is India's stance at this point regarding Russian oil?
Well, yes, it looks like a perceived case of confusion. The controversy has essentially started because when last week the joint statement was issued, an order was also issued by the US President that lowers the tariffs on India to 18%. But that order, which is essentially an internal document of the US government, says that India is not going to buy Russian energy. Now, so far, India hasn't said anywhere that it is not going to stop Russian energy. In fact, the Russians have also said that they haven't heard anything from New Delhi. And if you look at India's energy policy and India's foreign policy, one key aspect has always been how to diversify and engage with everyone, not keep all the eggs in one basket. And this is that example of it. Now, remember, before the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia was not a major supplier of energy to India. In fact, we all have grown up with listening to stories and, of course, facts that India has been importing energy from the Gulf, and how countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran and others have been major suppliers. But in past 1 decade, emergence of trends have come. One is that India has cut off energy supply from Iran, and India has significantly increased energy supply from Russia. Now, what the Foreign Secretary has said, we need to understand two key aspects. First is cheap crude. The second, of course, is a reliable supply of crude oil. And that, it looks like, is going to guide India's policy way forward. We could see a reduction, perhaps, of importing from Russia, while India hasn't confirmed it. But we could see importing from Venezuela increasing over next few months or perhaps years. So changing of India's energy imports is nothing new, but of course it has landed the government in a hot soup, primarily because of the mention in that internal order.
Understood. Siddhant, thanks so much for breaking that down for us. Clearly, India's statements are not just a message to the US, it's a message to the entire world that national interests will guide India's purchases. And of course, oil and energy is a key purchase for India from the international market. We look for the best rates and then go for that. That was Siddhant Sibal, our Assistant Director of Foreign Affairs, breaking it down for us to remove any kind of confusion that exists regarding India's and US trade framework deal.